So what we are saying is this definition, every person who is an assessee and whose total income exceeds maximum exemption limit shall be charged to income tax at the rate or rates prescribed in the Finance Act. Such income shall have to be paid on the total income of the previous year in the relevant assessment year. However, his total income shall be determined on the basis of resolution. So as we are saying that these are the things that are culled up. Person, as I told you, person is all these people, individual, HUF, partnership firms, companies, trust, all are included. But please read the definition from your material because the basic chapter includes all this. Then assessee. Who is an assessee? In a very simple way, a person who is required to pay income tax is an assessee. Income tax and the payment in the is coming, then it is required to be, he becomes an assessee. Okay. It can be various ways. We are not looking again. There is a definition for assessee. You have to read the assessee definition. Sometimes they can ask a simple question on, multiple choice or something like that. So be careful. Then comes maximum exemption limit. What is maximum exemption limit? You can imagine everybody doesn't need to pay income tax. If their yearly income crosses a first threshold, then they need to pay the income tax. What is the threshold? At the moment is 2,50,000, but still up to 5 lakhs they don't have to pay. There are certain calculations. Therefore, a person who is earning below 2,50,000, that is less than probably 22,000 something, he doesn't have to, because 22 something into 12 months, 22,000 per month into 12 approximately comes to 2,50,000. Below that, he doesn't have to pay income tax. Even now, there are other modes up to 5 lakhs you don't have to pay because there's some rebate. We look at it. But basically, the maximum exemption limit at the moment is 2 lakhs. The other thing is rate or rates prescribed. Now, what are the rate and rates? Because for each and every type of person, as you look at it, the rate of tax is different. For example, individual, as I told you, 2 lakh, up to 2 lakh, there is no tax. But beyond that, there is a taxability, but there is a rebate. So up to 5 lakhs, still doesn't have to pay. Beyond 5 lakhs, what is the rate? It may be 20%. Beyond 10 lakhs, how much is it? It is 30%. So there are different rates. For example, partnership firm, the rate is from zero, it is 30%. From zero, it is not even, there is no slab there. Only for individual, there is a slab. Similarly, now in the latest income tax budget, which was presented in February, they have given two types of rates for individuals also. Because these are things that every year it changes. Therefore, you have to understand that all these things have to be kept in mind. Which year you are doing, for which year you are doing the return. Accordingly, the rates you have to apply. Last year, what was the rate will not be this year's rate. It may be different. So that is what is the rate. Company, the rates are different. There are 2-3 rates. For example, there is a normal 30% which was from zero, but they have brought it down to 25. And certain other companies, they can get a rate of special rate of some 18%, 17% and all. Okay, so different rates are there, which is prescribed for each type of classification. For example, trust, if they take an exemption, got an exemption. If they are a registered trust and they get a exemption, then what happens? No tax at all for them. Now, what is Finance Act? Please understand that the Income Tax Act was first came out in 1961. The rules in 1962. That was the act which was promulgated. After that, what has happened? According to the need of the government, what does the government do actually? Government, what it does is it collects money from us in the form of taxes, and it uses that money for the purpose of spending for common good. For example, infrastructure, defense, etc., etc. So many major expenditures are defense and infrastructure and all. So many areas they do it, but one of the major expenditure is defense. So what happens? For that, money is required. So if they have the same type of collection of money, it may not be enough to, because spending is also increasing. Then people who are working for the government, for example, the people who are working in the running the government, they also have to be paid salaries, right? That's also a major amount that is to be paid. A lot of people have to be paid pension also. So all those things have to be met. How do they get it? So therefore, outflow is so much. Inflow from where they will get? same inflow type will not work because they will be short of money. Therefore, each year they have to change the inflow also. How does the outflow do? There are a lot of programs apart from the pension and salary and defense expenditure. The government has got certain, each government may have their own plan of things to do. Otherwise, they have to spend money. So therefore, outflow is lot of different outflows are there. Inflow in Vendi, the last previous periods, the inflow method will not work. The rates may not work. The changes have to be done so that they get more money in different ways. That is where each year the government brings out a budget. What is a budget? Budget is simple. It is the total amount of outflow that the company is going, the government is going to do for these activities. How much they are going to spend. Adinte oru approval aanu parliament in kittunnathu as far as central government is concerned. Adu enganeyana collect, how they are going to collect that money is also they have to say based on what are the changes they are going to bring in into the act. So therefore, budget is a document which is prepared by every government. Mind you, Finance Act, budget is not done only by central government. It is done by all the state governments. It is done by all the panchayats, all by municipality. Everybody presents everywhere because that's a must. But central government in the we are getting used to. We have to follow the finance bill, which is the budget, because our course is all pan India. That's why we are going. We don't have to look at the state budget because we have to look at all the states. It is not possible. Therefore, we are looking at only the budget of the entire country, which is presented by the central government. About budget, what happens is that budget is presented on the 1st of February or so by the finance minister on the floor of the parliament, and that is deliberated by all the people in the parliament, and finally when that is called the, what is it called then? It is called the finance bill. Once a finance bill is passed by the parliament and it is signed by the president of the country, then it becomes the Finance Act. So what happens to the Finance Act? That the Income Tax Act was initiated in 1961. Then every year the Finance Act is passed. But Finance Act, what does it mean? Only the changes. But once it becomes a Finance Act, it becomes part of the earlier Income Tax Act 1961. Therefore, whenever we are talking of the act, which act is applicable for us at the moment? It is Income Tax Act 1961 as amended, as updated by what? With the current Finance Act. Therefore, if you look at the Income Tax Act 1961, every year it has changed. In fact, sometimes 2 or 3 times it has changed because in a year, because of the governments forming new governments, like 2000 last government 2019, there were 2 Finance Acts. One was in February, another one was in July when the BJP government again came back to power. Therefore, each time what happens, whatever are the changes, it is merged to the original act, which is the original act, the Income Tax Act 1960. This is the broad idea about the Finance Act. So budget, what is budget? What is Finance Act? What is Finance Bill? What is Finance Act? Please be clear, because these are things that you need to know very well. It's not difficult, but then at the moment, at least just get a broad idea and read your basic material, get an understanding of it. So let me go to the previous year, next one. Previous year, easy item, it is just the financial year that we are talking about. Now, why, sir, it's called previous year? Because earlier there were different times you could file your return. Your financial year could have been different. For example, now, last 15-20 years or more than that, the financial year is mandatorily 1st of April to March 31st. Earlier, you could do your own way. For example, somebody wants to do it from, we shoot a first 15th of April to next year 15th of 14th of April വരെ വേണമെങ്കിൽ ചെയ്യാമായിരുന്നു. Some people in the north, they used to have their financial year as Diwali time. You know, different people used to have differently. At that time, this requirement of previous year and assessment year was all required. But today, it is not relevant because it's not very relevant because ഇപ്പോൾ എല്ലാം സ്റ്റാൻഡർഡൈസ് ആക്കി. നമ്മുടെ ഫൈനാൻഷ്യൽ ഇയർ വിൽ ഹാവ് ടു ബി 1st April to 31st March, and that correlation ആണ് ഈ പ്രീവിയസ് ഇയർ ഓൾസോ. നമുക്ക് കൂടുതലായിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾ മനസ്സിലാക്കേണ്ട പ്രീവിയസ് ഇയർ ആ ഫൈനാൻഷ്യൽ ഇയർ ഏത് വർഷത്തിന്റെയാണ് നമ്മുടെ ഇൻകം കാൽക്കുലേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് ടാക്സ് അടയ്ക്കാൻ പോകുന്നു ആ വർഷത്തിന്റെ that financial year is called previous year. And what is the assessment year? The next year. That is, for example, the financial year running is for which we are going to do the file that it returns is 2019-20. Our financial year we are going to file the return. What is the assessment year for that? Assessment year is 2021. 2021. What is the meaning of assessment year? The year in which the assessment of 1920 is done. That's a simple way of understanding. Okay. Now comes the residential status. Now, what is residential status? We are saying on the basis of, see, if you look at it, determined on the basis of residential status. Therefore, what is residential status? Even if he is an individual, for example, lot of people who are, we are all staying here in India, our residential status is, you know, we are resident and ordinary resident. But suppose a person is going abroad and he is working abroad. A lot of people from Kerala is going and working in Dubai or other places in the Middle East. Then what happens? They become a non-resident, separate category. This is what we are going to look at today, actually. Now, residential status when they are, it is very important to determine because a person who is a resident only needs to pay tax in India. A person who is a non-resident need not pay tax on his income which is earning outside India. There are a lot of, so these are rules that we are going to look at today. So therefore, this is a very important status. So if you satisfy also, but if a person is not a resident here in India, then he will not pay the tax on the income which is earning outside India. Of course, if he is earning something in India, definitely there is going to be attracting income tax. Be careful. That is what I want to tell you. Therefore, resident status is important. We have to now know what is resident status. Let us move on. Heads of income. What are the heads of income? Salaries, house property, profits and gains of business, capital gains, other sources. So there are 5 heads in which we are going to categorize the income. There are the categorization of income. Because for each and every of these heads, there are rules. For example, what comes under salary? Salary is easy to understand, right? But there are certain rules in which you have to define. I call it these separate doors of income. That means if you want to get your income qualified under salaries, there are certain prerequisites. If that prerequisite is met, then you can get into salaries. If house property, that income, house property prerequisite, if it is satisfying, then only it can become house property income, and so on. That's how you need to understand this. That means that each and every head of income should, if you want to put it under salaries, then what happens, that prerequisite, that the basic quality has to be satisfied, then only you will be allowed to get into this head of income. Similarly, all this kind, it is suppose something you are not able to fit in salary, nor in house property, nor in profits and gains, and nor in capital gain, then what happens? Then it will get into other sources. Therefore, other sources called residual head. Residual head. Okay. So let us move on further. Any questions? Are you okay? Aparna, are you okay?
Slides.
Okay. Just listen carefully. You got all the notes. Again, go through it. If you have doubt, again ask me. Venus, are you okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because that's why yesterday I called you to give these notes so that you can refer it. And I'm recording also. Let me see if I can put it to you. So now, income from salary. This is a structure in which you have to compute an income. That is, when you have to file the return, you are supposed to break up your income into these heads. Under these heads, these are the ways you have to do it. We'll come to that. Just giving a summary only. See, that means you cannot say my income is so much. You have to categorize it into different heads: income from salary, income from house property, profits and gains, capital gains, other sources. Then you get total income. Under from there, you can deduct something. For example, if you pay LIC, that LIC is deductible insurance, life insurance corporation, and the premium അടക്കത്തില്ലേ, then you get a deduction under ATC. Therefore, your income will come down. And on this total income, after deduction, you will have to pay the taxes. On this, you have to calculate. Therefore, gross total income in this is net income, net total income. Okay, this is the basic idea behind it. Now let us go into, but please read the basic material, basic chapter, okay, and then come back with me if you have questions. Now let us move to resident status. Now mind you, there has been some changes in the budget that has been passed this year in this chapter, but for you, for the November exam and the December exam, it will not be applicable. Is it clear? Therefore, we are going with the existing provision. Now, the residential status. What is the residential status? Total income of an assessee cannot be computed unless we know the resident status in India during the previous year. According to resident status, the assessee can either be a resident in India or a non-resident in India. However, individual and HUF in India will be either resident and ordinary resident, resident but not ordinary. So mind you, what is the basic classification of resident status? Resident in India, non-resident in India. But resident aipoya, then you have to go further down and see whether they are resident, an ordinary resident, or resident but not ordinary. This is what you need to understand. We'll come to that again and again. So, resident in the underlana ee rendanam varunnu. Under resident in India, you get resident and ordinary resident but not ordinary. Now let us go further. This again we are talking about individual, because for firm and all it is different. This is only for individual we are talking about now. Now let us look at the residential status. As discussed above, the total income is different in the case of person resident in India but ordinary resident in India and a person non-resident. We have looked at it. So all these cases, three cases are very much. One is resident and ordinary resident, resident but not ordinary resident, non-resident. Why this distinction? Because the income, total income is different in case of all cases. Why it is different? Because in some cases, for non-resident income, certain incomes are not taxable in India. Therefore, you need not take. But for resident, it may be taxable. Certain incomes are taxable for resident and ordinary resident, but for resident not ordinary, resident, it will not be taxable. Ordinary resident is taxable. Taxable. You have to look at the rules also. Look at it. Therefore, total income of an assessee cannot be determined without knowing his residential status in India. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഇത് must ആയിട്ട് നമ്മൾ അറിയേണ്ടത്. Why? Because the taxation structure is such that all incomes are not taxable to everybody. As I told you, certain incomes are taxable only for resident and ordinary resident. Certain for not taxable for not ordinary resident, and for non-resident, certain things are not at all taxable. Since the total income of an assessee varies according to his resident status, the incidence of tax shall also vary to such individual, such residential status. This is why we have to find out the resident status. Is it clear? Now let us move on. How to determine residential status? These are the basic rules must be kept in mind. What are the rules? The residential status is determined for each category of persons separately. Therefore, there are separate set of rules for determining residential status of individual, separate set of rules for companies, firm separate ആണ്, or HUF separate ആണ്. എല്ലാം separate ആണ്. Individual തന്നെ കമ്പനിയിൽ apply ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റത്തില്ല. You cannot do it. Now let us look at next one. The resident status is always determined for the previous year because we have to determine the total income of the previous year only. That means what? Every year you have to check the resident status. You cannot say last year I was a resident, this year also I will be considered as a no, because somebody would have gone abroad during the year. He may have become a non-resident. Therefore, how can you call it the same? He has changed his resident status from being a resident to a non-resident. Therefore, every year you have to do this check. The resident status is always determined on the basis of for the previous year, because we have to determine the total income of the previous year only. In other words, as the tax is on the income of particular previous year, the inquiry and determination of residence qualification must confine to the facts obtained for that previous year. Mind you, this previous year means what? The financial year. Is it clear? Because don't get mixed up. Previous year and the year Allah. It's not that. Previous year here means the financial year we are talking about. So let's look at this. The residential state of a person is to be determined for the previous year because it may change from year to year. For example, a person who is resident in India in the previous year 14-15 may be a non-resident 15-16. Just now I told you. It can change every year. If a person, the next one, if a person is resident in India in a previous year 11 to an assessment year in respect of any source of income, he shall be deemed to be resident in India in the previous year, the assessment year in respect of each source of income. You cannot say for house property I will be resident and for business I will not be, I will be a non-resident. That's not possible. Once you become a resident, you are resident for all types of income. That's what it is. Now, next concept, citizenship of a country and resident status of the country are separate concepts, mind you. An American citizen may be holding an American passport. What is a citizen? Which country is the passport holder of? So, an American citizen may be a resident in India because he has stayed in India for so many days. The rules will look at it. Similarly, Indian passport holder, the person who is an Indian passport, anybody, so many people in India are passport, but they may not be a resident in India because they are staying in Dubai. You understand that? That means citizenship, residency, two separate concepts. They are not the same. They are not the same. Okay, they are not the same. Therefore, these two are two different concepts. A person may be a foreign national. Similarly, a person may be foreign national but may be a resident in India. It is a duty of the SC to place all material facts before the assessing officer to enable him to determine his correct residency status. A person is deemed to be Indian origin if he or either of his parents or any of his parents or any of his grandparents are born in undivided India. Because this is also Indian origin, we need to look at it. Okay, because that's somewhere it is required later on. When we noted that grandparents include both maternal and, that means what it's saying, I am a person of Indian origin if either of my parents or any of my parents, either of his parents or any of his parents or any of his grandparents were born in undivided India. Either he or either of his parents or any of his parents or any of his grandparents were born in undivided India. I think either of his parents, either he or either of his parents, or any of his grandparents were born in undivided India. We noted that grandparents include both paternal, that means from father's side and mother's side. Now let us look at this. Rules for determining residence status. An individual may be either a resident in India or a non-resident. Resident, non-resident. First, other determine here. How do we do it? An individual cannot be simply called resident in India. If he is a resident in India, we have to further determine whether he is a resident or not. That's what I was told. That means first whether he is a resident or non-resident. And if you now determine yes, he is a resident, then you cannot stop there. You have to go further and check whether he is a resident and ordinary resident in India. Resident but not ordinary resident in India. Rendum bifurcated. Individual, resident, non-resident. Resident anengil, further you have to check resident, ordinary resident ano, not ordinary resident. Not ordinary resident now. Okay. Now let us look at how to distinguish an individual between resident and non-resident. So this is bifurcate in what we know as primary condition. Therefore, condition for determining whether an individual is a resident or not, category A. That's called category A. The two column 2 and 3 for the time being, just ignore it. Okay, we look at this first. That means here whatever is not covered is here, normal persons. What is the condition there? Must be in India for at least 180 days during the relevant previous year, or that means how it is just checked. Just understand. Resident aanengil, a person has to be resident. He should have stayed in India for at least 182 days in the relevant previous year. Previous year again, previous year means the financial year that we have to do the check. But suppose it is not for 180 days. Can I stop here for this category? No. You have to further check whether he was in India for 60 days during the relevant previous year. At least 60 days on diagram. If he is not at all 60 days and gone, then don't worry. If he is satisfying that he is 182 illa, then you come down and see whether at least he is there for 60 days. If he is there for 60 days, you have to again this will pick up. And 365 days during the 4 previous years immediately preceding the relevant previous. So first condition is 180 days undaradu India. Then check whether he was there for 60 days. Don't ignore this 2 3. Look at this only. Then 60 days undaradu. Yes, he was there. Then adu matram nokya pora. You have to also further check 365 days in 4 years. This also is satisfying. See, why did we come to B? Because he didn't satisfy this. 180 days he was not there, right? But when we come down, 60 days, yes, he was there. Yes, he was there. Then you have to go further. 365 days, both conditions will be there. Then he becomes a resident. Otherwise, he will be a non-resident. Therefore, we need to understand that if he satisfies here, he is more than 180 days, then you don't have to come here and check. You check here, he has become a resident. So no need to come and check here. You have to come to this only and only if 180 days is not satisfied. Then you come down and check is here 60 days was he there. Yes. If is no, then no need to check this 365. You have to check 365 only satisfy 60 days. Therefore, first is 182 satisfied. Forget about this condition because he is already satisfied. If he doesn't satisfy this, then you have to go and check 60 days at least he was there. If that gets satisfied, then you look at 365 days during the 4 previous years immediately preceding the relevant previous. If this is satisfied, then he becomes a resident. If he doesn't satisfy, he becomes a non-resident. Then you stop there. If he becomes a resident, then you have to go and check further. What is further? Condition number 2. Should be a resident. That means in order to become an ordinary resident, that means this one. This ordinary resident. What is the condition he has to further check? Should be a resident in India for 2 out of 10 previous years preceding the relevant previous year. Adu matram pora. And 730 days in 7 years. 730 days in 7 years. Both these conditions will be satisfied. Then he becomes a resident. He has already become. Then only we are checking this. He becomes an ordinary resident in India. If he doesn't satisfy this top condition, that is this one. This one is satisfying, right? But he doesn't satisfy this. Then what happens? He becomes a resident, but he is not a resident, ordinary resident. He is a resident, but not ordinary resident, which is this case. This case. Therefore, let us summarize it. What it means is he is an individual. First, you have to check this category A. You have to check whether to make it resident and non-resident, right? Then, if he becomes a resident, you have to go to category 2 to check whether if he satisfies category 2, then he becomes ordinary resident. If he doesn't satisfy this, he becomes not ordinary resident. This is the basic structure of this thing. Some notes are there. It is not essential that the stay should be at the same place. It not necessary that stay should be continuous. Only place of stay or purpose of stay is not material. What it means is, in India, wherever he was in Chennai for some time, he was in Calcutta for some time, no problem. Still, it will be considered as total all over India. He may have come to India, gone out, again come back. Then also it will be applicable. It's equally not necessary the stay should be continuous. Similarly, place of stay or purpose of stay is not material. What he has come is not material at all. Now, if our data is not available to calculate the period of stay of an individual in terms of hours, then the day on which he enters India as well as the day on which he leaves India shall be taken into account as a stay in India. This is what I am telling. The same thing is given in a different table. No, this is different. This is something which I have to come back. So have you understood today what is done?
Yes.
Both of you have understood? Please read. I'm going to stop here. We'll see because this part I will do on Thursday. This one. The second part I will do it on Thursday, not today. Okay, because you need to understand this properly. I have given some problems. Please try it out. Because time is running out. I think it will stop now. But please, I will, if possible, I'll put the YouTube in YouTube also. I'll give you a link. And please go through this. The problems that I have given you, please try doing and give me the solution. I will give you the solution. Is it clear? Aparna, are you there?
I will
Okay.
slide.
So I will stop here because this is enough for today. Please go through it properly. This theory, please read it properly. Whatever I've explained again and again, you read it. Understand these rules. These rules, please understand. What is it? Then try doing the problem. Then I'll give you, not have to get it right, but then I will give you the solution after that. Is it clear? I'll stop here today because this is heavy stuff. Read it again and again. Try to do the problem. Then I will give it. Is it clear? Because this part, if I do, you'll get confused. It is not now, tomorrow, Thursday, we will do this again. Okay? Venus, is it okay?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, Aparna? Aparna?
Okay, sir.
Okay, fine.